Max Verstappen could do a Nico Rosberg after winning this championship. The new FIA regime is under the spotlight, and Franco's chances are looking less likely after crashes. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get into the latest F1 news. Max Verstappen could take a sabbatical from F1 at the end of his current Red Bull contract at the conclusion of the F1 2028 season. That is the claim of Jos Verstappen, who is adamant that his son will see out the entirety of his Red Bull deal despite interest from Mercedes. Verstappen has established himself as one of the greatest drivers in F1 history over recent years and could clinch a fourth consecutive world championship in Sunday's Las Vegas Grand Prix. The Dutchmen hold a 62-point lead over Lando Norris ahead of the race in Nevada, with Verstappen starting ahead of the McLaren driver on the grid. Another title triumph would see Verstappen become only the second driver in F1 history after Red Bull icon Sebastian Vettel, who dominated between 2010 and 2013 to win his first 4 world championships in successive years. Despite being under a long-term contract with Red Bull, Verstappen has been frequently linked with a move away from the Milton Keynes outfit across F1 2024 due to the team's decline in competitiveness and the tensions between his father and team principal Christian Horner. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff made no secret of his desire to sign Verstappen before deciding on teenage sensation Andrea Kimi Antonelli as Ferrari-bound Lewis Hamilton's successor for F1 2025. With Mercedes opting against specifying the length of Antonelli's contract, however, and George Russell's deal expiring in 12 months' time, the team are expected to renew their interest in Verstappen ahead of the F1 2026 rule changes, for which Mercedes' preparations are believed to be advanced. Aston Martin, who lured F1 design guru Adrian Newey from Red Bull earlier this year and will enter a technical partnership with Red Bull's current engine suppliers Honda from F1 2026, have also been linked with an ambitious move for Verstappen. Horner confirmed to media, including Planet F1.com at August's Dutch Grand Prix, that Verstappen's contract contains a performance element, potentially allowing him to leave the team before 2028. A report in the British media last month claimed that the rumored contract clause will give Verstappen the freedom to leave Red Bull next year if he is lower than third in the Drivers' Championship after a significant part of the season has been completed. If true, that would echo the arrangement believed to have been included in one of Verstappen's previous Red Bull deals when the 27-year-old was last heavily linked with Mercedes in 2019. Speaking to Italian publication La Gazzetta dello Sport, Mr. Verstappen has insisted that his son will compete his current Red Bull contract. And he raised the possibility of the F1 2024 champion-elect, who has frequently complained about the expanding F1 calendar, taking a sabbatical before returning to a race seat down the line. Asked how much longer his son will compete in F1, Mr. Verstappen said, "We have a contract with Red Bull until 2028 and we'll get there, then we'll see. We'll have to see if Max will still be interested in F1. All his life he's been told what he has to do, including by me, and now it's happening with the team. There will come a time when he wants to decide. There is certainly more to his life than F1 and Max is aware of that. He listens a lot to his feelings. He knows what he wants, but it's difficult to say what will happen. Maybe he will stop for a year in the future, and then he will feel like coming back. Certainly, it's not the records that motivate him. He doesn't need to win 7 or 8 world championships. He is already happy with what he has achieved." Asked specifically about Mercedes' interest in the Red Bull star, Mr. Verstappen replied, "It's normal. They want the fastest driver." Verstappen himself recently indicated a desire to see out his Red Bull contract, telling AFP, "That's definitely the intention. I signed a long-term deal with the team, and in a perfect world, we of course end it here." Mercedes previously emerged as F1's dominant force at the start of the V6 hybrid engine era in 2014, after which the team won a record 8 consecutive constructors' titles and 7 straight drivers' crowns split between Hamilton, 6, and Nico Rosberg, 1. With the F1 2026 rules featuring sweeping changes to the engine and chassis regulations, including a move to 50% electrification and fully sustainable fuels, many are expecting the Brackley-based operation to ace the sport's new era. Speaking to Sky Germany during a visit to this year's Spanish Grand Prix, Mercedes chief executive Ola Källenius teased that the F1 2026 rule changes will represent an opportunity to lure Verstappen, quipping that the Red Bull star would look good in silver. He said, "The best driver wants to have the best car, and that's our job, to bring the best package together. The cards will be reshuffled in 2026. New order with new rules, that's also an opportunity. Who knows? But I think Max would look good in silver, wouldn't he? Appearing on the Formula for Success podcast in the summer, former F1 team owner Eddie Jordan claimed that Wolff and Kalenius, as well as Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the owner of one-third Mercedes owner Ineos, met in Monaco earlier this year to prepare a fighting fund to cover Verstappen's salary in anticipation of the Dutchman's arrival. Jordan said, "In Monaco, there was a meeting between Toto, Jim Ratcliffe of Ineos, and Ola Kalenius, and together they put together a fighting fund to cover off the possibility of a salary requirement to cover Max." Max was aware of it. I'm not actually sure he was at the meeting, but surely that gives some indication about the steely commitment by Toto and his team to actually get Max on board at some stage. We shouldn't be surprised to see Max in a Mercedes car in the next years. Jordan famously predicted Hamilton's shock move from McLaren to Mercedes at the end of the 2012 season. Franco Colapinto's abrupt smash into the walls of the Las Vegas Grand Prix circuit in qualifying may have just ended his immediate hopes of landing an F1 seat. The Argentinian driver endured a horrific moment during qualifying in Las Vegas when a momentary lapse of concentration sent him barreling into the concrete barrier lining the track. Colapinto's error was comparatively minor. Turning in slightly too early for turn 16, a corner lined by concrete walls without an inch of leeway, Colapinto bounced his Williams off the inside wall with just enough force to rip the corner from the car and, from that moment, was merely a passenger as the energy dissipated. It was a ferocious impact, with Williams confirming he suffered a 50G impact. The onboard replays showed his head bouncing around from side to side with the severe motion, certain to, at least, give him a headache. The impact has left Colapinto an uncertain participant in the Grand Prix itself. Following medical checks, Colapinto didn't tend to the usual post-qualifying media duties and is, instead, resting up to give himself the best possible chance of racing. Following an impact of such magnitude, and the obvious possibilities of concussion or unforeseen side effects, Colapinto will duly need to be fully assessed on race day to see whether he's fit and ready to take part in such a grueling event, or whether the possibility of another serious impact so soon after this one may be endangering him. Colapinto may be eager to take part in the race, with his opportunities to impress the rest of the F1 grid dwindling as the season enters its final 2 weeks, but it's imperative that he looks after his health first and foremost, as the crash may have just put an end to any hope of securing a seat anywhere for F1 2025 anyway. The second half of 2024 has seen Colapinto's life transformed. From being a solid if unspectacular Formula 2 driver with a single win to his name this year, plugging away in his duties on Williams' driver academy, no one was expecting too much from Colapinto when he was announced as a replacement for the struggling Logan Sargent. But Colapinto has succeeded in ways Sargent couldn't. From the off, Colapinto has had a similar pace to experienced and highly rated teammate Alex Albon and scored points in his second race, in Azerbaijan, before following them up with more in the USA. Such successes triggered a wave of support in Argentina, where Colapinto has shot forward to become a leading sports figure and household name, with the country having had little to cheer since Gaston Mazecan in 2001, and that particular run wasn't particularly celebratory either. Colapinto's performances have met with praise up and down the paddock, with even his own team boss James Vowles almost seeming surprised by just how strong the Argentinian has been. "What impresses me most is how calm he is under pressure," Vowles said. "It's always hard to describe what happens when you step up into Formula 1. It's a completely different world and the pressure mounts exponentially, yet he takes it all in his stride. You can hear it over the radio. He's never flustered, he's never panicked, he's never overloaded." But as is usually the way in Formula 1, the pressure started to ramp up. From having no expectations and no real scrutiny on him as he stepped into Sargent's car at Monza, this run was supposed to be nothing more than a 9-race run to somewhat strengthen Williams' driver lineup and see what might unfold. To go from that to an almost immediate point scorer and appearing to rattle the cage of Albon in the space of a few weeks, it's led to all sorts of speculation on the driver market. One rumor was that Red Bull wanted to find a way to get Carlos Sainz away from Williams, enabling Williams to run Colapinto full-time next year alongside Albon. Another was that Alpine, somehow disheartened by Jack Doohan even before the Australian makes his debut in F1, wanted to oust the Australian to get Colapinto into a seat, which would involve Alpine advisor Flavio Briatore ditching his own driver client in Doohan. The most serious speculation focused on Red Bull. With uncertainty over Sergio Perez's future, Colapinto appeared to tick all the boxes. Young and fast, as well as attractive to sponsors in the South American market, a big fillip in Perez's favor, Christian Horner was spotted heading down to Williams for a chat with team boss James Vowles, for a conversation that's understood to have been about signing the Argentinian's services. Whether that being for the main Red Bull team or the vacant seat at VCarb isn't clear, but the momentum behind Colapinto has dispersed in recent weeks. Outqualified by Albon in Mexico and the 2 races in Sao Paulo, Colapinto crashed out heavily during the Grand Prix to add to Williams' already hefty repair bill from Albon's earlier crash in qualifying, the damage being such that Albon couldn't even take part. Somehow, Williams managed to scoop enough carbon fiber back together to show up ready for Las Vegas, only for Colapinto to further blot his copybook with another crash. A wholly unnecessary risk to take at a point where Williams needed some stability and calm. It's led to Red Bull's interest in Colapinto waning considerably, with the mistakes showcasing his inexperience, a situation unpalatable for the possibility of slotting in alongside Verstappen. Whether or not Colapinto is fully off the table for any Red Bull involvement isn't clear. After all, his asking price and desirability taking such a hit may not take him out of contention for the vacant VCarb seat, although it's difficult to argue why he would be a better signing than Red Bull's own Liam Lawson. It was always going to be a tall order for Colapinto to find a seat on the grid for F1 2025, given the lateness of his opportunity and the limited competitiveness of the machinery under him. His strong start, minus any pressure, has been his undoing. The resulting pressure and expectation being linked as a teammate for Verstappen, it's all been too much, too soon, for a driver who was in relative anonymity in Formula 2 up until a few weeks ago. F1 teams will move heaven and earth to get a generational talent into a car as quickly as possible, but Colapinto's recent spell of form has shown he is as fallible as anyone, meaning that his rough edges are now someone else's problem to sort. The question mark there is, who will do that? Right now, there's no room at the inn anywhere, and Colapinto will thus have to wait patiently on the sidelines for that opportunity. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. What Colapinto needs to cling on to in the last 2 weeks of his current F1 career is that he has clearly shown he has the talent and temerity to make it in the sport. A rough around the edges but lightning fast driver is one that can be molded and refined. Natural speed is a talent that cannot be learned, and Colapinto clearly has that pace in abundance. It's in the mental control, the patience, the knowing when to take risks and when to play it cool. That is something that can be learned. Rather than trying to secure an ascendancy onto the grid at breakneck speed, Colapinto needs to refine the calm coolness with which he approached his initial races and allow that talent to shine through, free of the niggling thought that every lap is being assessed by the likes of Horner, Toto Wolff, Fred Vasseur, etc. Should Colapinto not be cleared to race in Las Vegas, it leaves him with just 2 further opportunities to impress. But even succeeding in doing so will only return him to his own high benchmark from a few weeks ago. Rather than horrendous and unnecessary crashes, Colapinto must return to that baseline in order to keep himself at the forefront of every team's mind for the next opportunity that arises, which will undoubtedly come if he keeps his calm. Toto Wolff has revealed that it is a matter of time before Valtteri Bottas returns to Mercedes amid rumors that he could become the team's reserve driver for F1 2025. It comes as the team prepare to lose a huge amount of experience with 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari for next season. Bottas is almost certain to be left without a seat for F1 2025 after Audi F1, who will take over the existing Sauber team in 2026, announced earlier this month that Gabriel Bortoleto will become Nico Hülkenberg's teammate for next year. With the Red Bull VCarb outfit the only team yet to officially finalize their driver lineup for F1 2025, Bottas is set to bow out at next month's season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, having been a fixture on the grid since his debut with Williams back in 2013. Bottas enjoyed the most productive years of his career with Mercedes between 2017 and 2021, claiming a total of 10 Grand Prix victories and helping the team to 5 consecutive Constructors' titles as Hamilton's teammate. Speaking to media including PlanetF1.com at last month's Mexican GP, before his Audi F1 exit was confirmed, Bottas revealed that he would consider a return to Mercedes as the team's reserve driver for the F1 2025 campaign. Mercedes will field one of the youngest driver lineups on the grid next year, with 18-year-old sensation Andrea Kimi Antonelli stepping up from F2 to partner George Russell having been confirmed as Hamilton's successor at Monza. Wolff has revealed that a deal to re-sign Bottas is yet to be finalized, but is nearing completion with the team full of joy to have a driver of his caliber in their ranks. He told Viaplay, "Nothing is signed, nothing is done. But if we were to have him back in the family, we would be all full of joy." What you can say is that if you have the opportunity to have a driver like Valtteri back in the Mercedes family, with his ability, with his most recent experience of these modern cars, you can deem yourself super lucky. Asked if he is looking forward to welcoming Bottas back to Mercedes, he replied, "Very much. You know how negotiations unfold at the end. Lawyers always want to make contracts fail. I'm joking. They are great lawyers and it's a matter of time." Rumors this week have suggested that Bottas could even act as a personal advisor to Wolff, with the pair known to have a close relationship over many years. Wolff played an instrumental role in Bottas's emergence at Williams before signing him the Finnish driver as Nico Rosberg's replacement at the start of 2017. Bottas confirmed last year that Wolff had rejoined his management team following his departure from Mercedes at the end of 2021. Wolff's personal entourage at Mercedes lost a key member earlier this year when Jerome D'Ambrosio, the former Marussia and Lotus Renault driver, left to take up the role of deputy team principal at Ferrari, as well as becoming the head of the Scuderia's junior academy. D'Ambrosio began working with Mercedes on an informal basis in F1 2023 before being appointed to the position of driver development director, assuming some of Wolff's responsibilities for a select number of races last autumn after the team boss underwent knee surgery. Bottas issued an update on his future ahead of this weekend's Las Vegas Grand Prix, insisting that he still has lots to offer in F1 and revealing that he has some interesting options for next year. He told media, including PlanetF1.com, "The way my active F1 driving career ended for now, it wasn't the best way that you can't really decide yourself. I feel like still I have lots to give for the sport and I still love it. I love the racing against the best drivers in the world, in the best cars in the world. That's what I love, so I'm just trying to figure out now what is the next move. I don't really have that much more to add. I'm taking it day by day. There's some interesting stuff on the table and then we'll see." With Audi F1's decision to sign Bortoleto coming so late in the year, Bottas has ruled out a move to IndyCar or the World Endurance Championship for next season, confirming that his priority is to regain a Grand Prix seat for F1 2026. He added, "For me at the moment, I feel like jumping into a new category comes quite quick. We're almost in December, so I think that would be more realistic if I didn't find a seat in F1 during 25 or for 26, then probably it would be a consideration from 26. It's all these things that I need to try and plan, but the picture is starting to form in my head what is the ideal situation." Thanks for watching. I'll see you around.